Yo, it's Kim, and the run of good cameras just won't stop. Today, 43 Rumors just broke the news about a new Micro Four Thirds camera coming out in early April. Now, we don't have any specs yet, but we do have some leaked images, and that's largely what we're going to base this video on. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this looks like a G85 slightly remodeled to me. I'm not sure if it's bigger, it's hard to tell from the render, but I think it's in Panasonic's best interest to keep it the same size as the G85 and position it as a smaller camera to the G9 and the GH5. Overall, it retains that G85 styling. However, they did take the silver accent away from the mode dial and also the drive mode dial, which I was actually a fan of. It looks like they're trying to make this camera look a little bit more pro. It also looks like it's going to come with the 12 to 60 3.5 to 5.6, which funnily enough, I just made a video of comparing that to the 14 to 42 3.5 to 5.6. Now here are some of the changes that I spotted. First of all, it looks like the rubber texture looks closer to what they use on the G9 than what they used on the G85. I'm not sure if it's just the picture, but overall the metal plate also looks more rugged, but it could just be the render. I also noticed that the thumb grip seems to be a little bit bigger. The arrow pad is also gone, it's now control wheel. I've never been a fan of this, but who knows, I might end up liking it in the end. Also, it looks like the eye cup is similar to what they use on the G9. Hopefully it's as nice as the G9, or at least upgraded from the last generation. But personally, I've never actually complained about the EVF on the G85. Maybe because I don't use it that much. It also looks like they lost the FN4 button on the back, but I think that's also because they added the white balance, ISO, and exposure compensation buttons on the top plate of the camera. Now, if I look at my G85, it doesn't really look like I can fit those three buttons plus the record button on the top plate. So if you ask me right now, it looks like they made that top plate just a little bit bigger on the next generation. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that, but I'll have to see the actual camera before I make my decision. As I already mentioned, they also moved the movie record button, and that to me is a more comfortable place than where they used to put it, which is right here. I've never really liked the placement of that button, so I'm glad that they did this. One more thing I noticed is that the microphone port is back near the top of the camera, which is great. That's like the G7. On the G85, for some reason, they moved it down to the bottom, and that usually got in the way of the flip screen. One more thing I noticed is that they're adding Bluetooth to this camera, which is great. That's in line with the GX9. Personally, I've never used it, but basically how they use Bluetooth is that it supplements the Wi-Fi so that you always have a constant low power connection between your smartphone and your camera. Moving on to things that we don't know. We don't know what sensor this is going to use. It's probably going to use the 20 megapixel sensor that almost every new Micro Four Thirds camera is using now. But we don't know if it's going to be cropping in 4K like the GX9 or if it's going to use the full sensor like the G9 and the GH5. We also have no idea what the price of this camera is going to be. Obviously, the G9 only costs about $1,200 these days, body only, so I wonder how they're going to price this new camera to be competitive in the market. Two more things I'm not clear on are, is it going to include the 6-stop stabilization of the G9, and is it going to have 4K 60? Now, this is going to be pure speculation, but when it comes to the IBIS, I really don't know if they're going to include that. Personally, for me, I don't think it's going to be wise for Panasonic to do that. Otherwise, why would you buy the G9 over the G95, whatever this camera is going to be called? However, when it comes to 4K 60, I am a little bit more optimistic about that because I think that these bodies, even though they are small relative to other cameras, I think they're decently big enough to be able to dissipate heat recording at 4K 60. Now, if you told me that the GX9, which is more of a rangefinder camera style, is going to be able to record in 4K 60, I probably would tell you no, just because the body is so small. But I think these medium-sized bodies like this would be able to take it. So that's basically it. I think this camera is really interesting. Obviously, we're not sure about the specs yet, but I hope those high-end specs finally filter down into these mid-tier cameras. But on top of that, I am a fan of some of the ergonomic changes that they made on the camera. But I guess the biggest question is, do you guys think it's compelling enough to upgrade from an older camera?